If I put an experienced agent, someone knows how to close and understands how to structure IULs, onto a call with someone who literally just searched for an IUL illustration and they have the funds to be able to move forward, there's a very high probability that that policy is going to get written. Now, the biggest thing that holds skilled agents back from writing more IULs isn't always just sales soft skills, but it's just having a lack of conversations with the right people. Every serious agent scaling production is consistently talking to buyers who are actively searching for an IUL and can fund a policy. In this video, I'm going to break down our process for connecting agents like yourself with these type of buyers. Once you book a call, on the next page, I'm also going to share a ton of additional resources to help you do your due diligence on us as an organization, so that you have all the details that you would need in order to make a decision either way on this. From there, if it's checking up all your boxes, we can talk about next steps. My name is Curtis Padberg. My agency is called Wires from Carriers. My background is in paid ads, specifically connecting sales teams with rich leads via search ads. Now, at this point, I've managed around 40 million in ad spend for clients. To be very transparent, some of that comes from my prior role working for a big ad agency, and the rest is just running my own agency. This experience has given me a very unique perspective for what actually works. My agency was contracted to run ads for a well-known lead vendor, and I saw savage agents, quite honestly killers who could close, but they struggled because they weren't speaking with people who were actually looking for an IUL. I realized that the vendor's agenda was very misaligned with what the agent actually needed. Their goal was, and what they told me, was to find the cheapest leads possible via social media in order to protect their margins. The most efficient route to more production for a skilled agent specifically is getting in front of people who are actually in the market for an IUL. If we can give a skilled agent people who are actually in the market for an IUL, everyone's going to win and everyone's going to get richer. We work with experienced agents who are already producing and they want to scale. They bring us in as their marketing partner and give them capacity and fill their pipeline with in-market IUL buyers so that they can focus on what they do best, closing deals. So in a nutshell, we're going to get you in touch with people who are actually in the market for an IUL. Within 30 seconds of them literally searching for an IUL, we're going to get you connected with them. At the point that you talk with them in the sales process, they've requested an illustration to see their projected cash value growth for their given situation, and then we verify their contact information using a one-time passcode in order to ensure the highest possible connection rates. From that point in the sales process, it's up to you to walk them through why it would actually make sense for them at that point. As a result of this, there's far greater awareness because there's been a lot more framing in their individual sales process. Therefore, there's far greater trust and believability in IUL specifically. What we've seen is leads that are actually searching for an IUL are far more likely to contribute more because they've just been exposed to more framing and they're later in the sales process. They just need the right agent to seal the deal. As an experienced agent, you already know this. If someone shows up on a presentation call, unaware of what an IUL is, that call inevitably just turns into an education call, and it's far less likely to close. The sales cycles are far longer, and you're left hard selling to someone who is never really serious in the first place. Now, the problem is that most agents are stuck talking with leads that are just too early in the sales process, simply put. You'll spend your time quite literally dragging these prospects through the sales process, educating and framing them in order to increase their level of interest, only to resort to just having to hard sell them in the end, just to get them interested enough. The reality is about 90% of the total IUL market is hard pressed to buy, or doesn't really have a genuine interest in IULs. Now, of the remaining 10% of the total IUL market breaks into two segments. 7% of that market is what we call the needs convincing demographic. These are people who are still early in the sales process for an IUL. They've gotten ads and they've got a just general level of interest, but they haven't really taken any serious action yet. You can invest a lot of time and money into these leads, but they'll require a lot more education and honestly effort in order to increase their level of interest to a point where they're actually ready to pull the trigger on a policy. With a lot of these leads, and how to tell if you're speaking to this type of individual, you're going to spend a lot of time convincing them on the idea of an IUL that it makes sense in the first place. So what makes us different is we don't have a downline, and transparently, for this to really work, or for any deal for that matter, we both need to have aligned interests. You need people who are actually looking for an IUL, and we need to keep our lead costs low in order to maintain our margins. This is the middle ground where everybody wins, to be super transparent with you. Now, what we do to keep our interest aligned with our clients is we only target people who are in the market for an IUL. These are people who are literally searching into a search engine, and we can target them with ads in the search engine. Once we capture the lead, we just round robin these leads based on availability and capacity of the agents buying from us. As a result, you're going to speak with leads that are later in the sales process with some level of awareness, because you get to skip the initial education required to sell to a lot of these early stage buyers. You'll connect with more leads because they're actively searching for an IUL, like they're literally typing it in, and we've verified their contact information. And you'll see a lot shorter sales cycles generally because these leads already have interest and a understanding of what an IUL is. They just need the right agent in order to actually seal the deal. Now I'm going to share the details of how it works in a minute, but first I need to explain why this is so different from everything else out there in the market. Now, around 3% of the remaining IUL market has their interest peaked enough that they're actively shopping for one. This is what we call an in-market audience. These are people who've had enough content and framing and have at least a general level of interest and understanding of what an IUL is, because they're literally searching for it. There's millions of dollars spent every single day on ads on social media, consistently just warming up this bucket of people that when their interest is peaked enough, they end up just going to one of the search platforms. They're literally searching IUL quote, IUL illustration, IUL calculator into the search platform. That's why we only use search ads in order to source our leads. For a skilled agent like yourself, this is where your ability to actually close matters. You're not wasting your time educating or just convincing on an IUL in the first place. You're connecting with people who are already actually searching for an IUL. Look, I'm not going to tell you that every single lead is perfect. You're going to have people who don't answer. You're going to have people who aren't quite ready. But what I am saying is that you're going to talk with more people who are actually in the market for an IUL, and you're going to write more policies as a result. Now, the first benefit here is you really get to skip the initial education phase, since every lead is literally searching for an IUL. They already have familiarity with what an IUL is. We as advertisers have the ability to target specific phrases that people search into the search engine. They'll be typing terms like IUL quote, IUL illustration, IUL calculator. So we know that if they're searching this, you get to cut through the initial education, and you can actually start at a spot in the sales process where you can actually have a sales call with the individual. Now, the best way for you to gauge the type of buyer and lead quality is really just to see the lead journey itself. I want you to just take a second here and put yourself in the circumstances and desired outcomes of someone who is literally searching for an IUL illustration. I want you to think about what would need to happen for them at that point to be there, and how much their interest would need to be piqued in order to actually go through our application and verify their contact information. That's the type of buyer that's coming through our funnels. So I'm going to have my video editor add in a visual here. They're literally going to search IUL quote into the search engine. They're going to see one of our ads. They're going to be brought to a landing page. On the page, super simple, super direct. There's no bait and switch. See how much cash value your IUL could build. And we're very direct about a licensed agent is going to build you a customized illustration. Fill out the application below. They're going to fill out the application, verify their contact information, and then at that point, they're going to be brought to a confirmation page. On the confirmation page, this is one of the biggest levers that we've found to increase connection rates. We're extremely direct with what happens next. In order for them to receive their illustration, they need to connect with the agent over the phone. They're going to see a video that talks about expectations and next steps. And if they don't want to watch the video, the page itself is very clear about what needs to happen next in order for them to get their illustration. I'm going to have my editor attach a feedback video from one of the agents actively working the leads on what their experience has been so far.
Hey, so working these leads has been great in comparison to social media generated leads, just because these people will actually answer you back on text. They'll actually call you back if they don't pick up. The other really big advantage that I've loved with this is having the dialer in the background, just having backend support, dialing and setting appointments, doing pre-qualifiers and live transfers. I've gotten 3 live transfers and sold all 3 of them. So that's been a huge part of running these leads and being successful. I love that backend support. And then also, just in general, these seem like higher quality people. You'll get less leads, but it's quality over quantity so far. And so I would rather talk to 10 solid people than call 50 people that I have no idea if they even know what I'm talking about, and they don't even know what an IUL is. They're calling it a URL. or an IOL, whereas the people with these leads, they know what it is. They're on a calculator trying to figure out an overfunded policy. They have the funds to put into it. And if they don't, they'll tell you. It's not a chargeback where you sell it and then a week later it doesn't draft and then they tell you that you're broke. You just know off the rip. Overall, it's definitely higher quality people.
As a result, you're going to maximize your connection rate. Every single lead that you pay for has gone through our process. The language on the page is super straightforward, indicating that an agent is going to create them an illustration. They literally search for it and they request an illustration, and we've set the right expectations up front. To become a verified lead, sellable lead that we can actually sell to one of the agents buying leads, they have to use a one-time passcode in order to verify their phone number. So as a result, you're calling real active phone numbers. If you want to learn more about how we can help you connect with these type of in-market IUL buyers, fill out the application on this page and book a call. Now, as a third benefit here, we end up seeing shortened sales cycles. By pursuing leads that are later in the buying cycle, we've seen shortened sales cycles as a result because there's less initial education on just why an IUL makes sense in the first place required to sell to this type of individual. When you get on a presentation call, it's far more likely to be a sales call rather than an education call because of the prospect's level of awareness. When an agent tags the lead as a good lead in our CRM, whether they submit an application or the policy gets approved, we pair that feedback with whatever keyword they came through, and we know exactly what turns into submitted applications and approved policies. And we're just gonna go and find more of those type of leads. This means we're always refining and fighting to generate more high quality leads for everyone who's buying through us. So to recap, here's what we'll help you with. You'll talk with leads that are later in the sales process with some level of awareness. You get to skip the initial education required to sell to early stage buyers. You're gonna connect with more leads just because they're actively searching for an IUL illustration and they've verified their contact information. You'll see shorter sales cycles because these leads already have interest and understanding of what an IUL is, just based on their level of awareness. Now, the way this works is a one-time onboarding fee of $1,000 to get everything set up correctly. After that, it's just ongoing investment based on the lead plan that you choose. Now, in addition to everything here that I shared, you're also going to get our overflow leads. Now, when someone fills out the form, but they drop off before entering a one-time passcode to verify their phone number, we gather their information and then just round robin these leads, just basically as additional opportunities, but they're just free of charge because we can't sell these leads. So if you want us to connect you with people who are actively searching for IULs and have requested an illustration to see their projected cash value, then fill out the application on this page and schedule a time to speak with our team. My goal is to learn more about your situation and determine whether we can help and provide a full breakdown of how everything works so that you have all the details that you need to make a decision either way if this is the right fit for you. Now, this is your chance to fill your pipeline with people who are actually looking for an IUL so you can focus on what you do best, getting on calls and closing deals. Now, the most challenging part of our business is balancing lead flow capacity with the number of agents that we support. There's only so much volume of people actively searching for an IUL in any given state. The worst thing that we could do is take on too many agents and not have enough volume to go around. If you're seeing this video right now, it means we have capacity available in your licensed states. But these spots fill out quickly and we keep it limited to protect our agents. So if you're ready to streamline your sales process and work with people who are actually in the market for an IUL, fill out the application below to get started.